quick little trigger warning for anyone who might need it. This video will be talking about bullying and a kind of dysfunctional family. So anyways, that's it. Hi, and welcome back to another video. I'm going to be telling you about my Koopaling headcanons while drawing one of my favorite Koopalings. You could say they're all my favorites, but this is one that's a little bit higher on the list. The reference is acquired, so I guess we'll just start from youngest to oldest. Which means it's Larry. In my headcanon, Larry is the youngest Koopaling, and he is a DJ, which my evidence that he is a DJ is in Electrodrome, a Mario Kart 8 track. You can see in the TV screen a DJ, and this DJ has if it's not Larry, it's very much looking like Larry's mohawk. And I have a feeling that Koopa is a fan of Larry, if that is not Larry, so I just headcanon that he's a DJ, and he really likes music, in the sense of he'll make music for people to jam to at Electrodrome. I also headcanon that his favorite animal is a horse, because in the Rio Olympic Games video game on the Wii U, we can see that he competes in equestrian, which, me personally, I just think, yes, his favorite animals are horses. Okay, you cannot convince me otherwise. Unless Nintendo walks up to me and says, hey, actually his favorite animal is this, then I will not budge. I headcanon he plays tennis, but that's also something that can be seen in a boss fight. There's this mini game where you play tennis, and it's Larry's tennis, really. So, is it really a headcanon at that point? It's more like a theory headcanon. May even just be canon. And the last thing I'll say, and try to keep short, but it might take me some time to explain. Larry Koopa is very dependent on the attention and validation from Bowser. Why do you think he does so many things? Because he wants to impress Bowser and make him proud while doing the things he loves. He will do anything Bowser asks, really. He lives on the validation from Bowser. He looks up to him so much. He hates that Bowser isn't his real father, and will shove that feeling away whenever he's reminded that, hey, he adopted you. You're not his son. But that is my Larry headcanons. Then we go to the most underrated Koopaling, I'd say. Morton. I love all the Koopalings so much. I want them all to have their own characters, but it's very hard. It's very hard to find anything for Morton, and it's quite sad. Because I want to love them all and think, they're all cute. But, you know, there's not much to Morton other than he's strong and big and things. And he talks a lot. His old name in the old show used to be Big Mouth. For goodness sake. And Roy would bully the life out of him. And so would everyone else. And you know what? I took that little shred of something and used it. I used it all right. Oh, I used it. By I mean someone else, because I found a Koopaling fanfiction and I read it, even though I was kind of not feeling it that much at first. I ended up liking it. It was enjoyable. But of course, I didn't have really high expectations for it either. I wouldn't say it's the best thing ever. So, in that fanfiction, Morton was treated so badly by Roy and others that he decided to actually just do what they said and genuinely shut up. What do I mean by genuinely shut up? I mean he actually just didn't speak anymore. He would barely ever speak in that fanfiction. He spoke like... I think I remember it being like 4 to 5 times, maybe a little bit more, but it was not a lot at all. Roy really got to him, and the worst thing is, Roy didn't care in that fanfiction, which, oof, bro. You gotta be on something else if you just don't care about you technically making your brother feel like he has to go mute to fit in. Like, wow, buddy. So I took that idea and I went with it because there's literally nothing else I can think of that would even add to Morton's character other than he's big, kinda silly at times. He's a blabbermouth. He's kinda curious. But yeah. Other than that, it's just like he works for Bowser. Yeah, he's loyal to Bowser. Okay. So my headcanon goes like this. Roy bullied Morton so much that Morton decided to just never speak anymore. And that actually caused people to start liking him a lot more, but also be a little bit worried for him at first. But after he just seemed fine, quote unquote, they decided to leave him alone. And eventually, life for him just was like that. Being silent, working for Bowser, only really talking to himself, and just surviving, really. But trust me, I'm planning on making a story where he gets to do something more than that, but while with Bowser and being a villain, he's not going to be in the best mindset or at, you know, at a good place. You know? I cannot draw a mohawk for my life. Give me a sec. I also headcanon that Morton wants to get away from his home and go to his own little island, really, and just be able to blabber on and on and on all day to himself and maybe to a pet that he'll have on the island. And just be all alone where he can just finally be himself. The blabber little chatterbox he is. That did not make sense, but I'm going to keep it in anyways because that was truly my unfiltered self. That is sometimes just how I talk. And that is all for Morton. So now we will go to the next Koopaling. The Queen, the Diva, Wendy Koopa. Wendy Koopa. Where do I begin with her? She's already pretty much well fleshed out. She's into ice skating. She's into swimming. She's slightly materialistic. That's a little bit of a headcanon I have, but I think that's, you can already tell that she would be slightly materialistic just by looking at her. And just thinking about her for 2 seconds. I don't know. As Kane says, assumptions are pretty rude, but I think it's kind of obvious. I'm sorry, Ming, but I think it's pretty obvious over here that Wendy would definitely be a little bit materialistic. If not fully materialistic, just a little bit, you know? Okay. So, that's one headcanon I have. She's materialistic. And another headcanon I have of her is she's actually an influencer, and lots of people watch her, like, every single day. And since she's an influencer on iPipe, you know what I'm talking about. On iPipe, she obviously needs to look her best, be her best, and she starts to slowly become more materialistic because she wants to look her best. She wants to have partners that look their best. She needs to look good for the people watching, obviously. And that is about it, really. Those are my headcanons about Wendy Koopa. Next is Roy Koopa. Roy Koopa. Oh, Roy Koopa. Sometimes I just want to tell him, dude, drink a 7-Up, eat a moon pie, quit bullying people. But, you know, of course he's not going to stop. And I'm just going to have to deal with it. You know? And, so my headcanons for him is number 1. He would play the electric guitar. Yeah, he would. Number 2. He definitely listens to old punk rock music. Or just heavy metal music from the 80s, 70s. He just listens to old music. And specifically likes the heavy metal and punk rock genres. He has headphones so that he can drown out his own thoughts. Yeah. With the music. And though he does bully his siblings, he does still care about them. He would take a bullet for them if he needed to. If they were being threatened, any of them, he would take a bullet for. Because though they are pretty dysfunctional at times, they still care about each other. All of them do. It's just kind of hard for them to get along at times. You know? And now we'll go to one of my favorites. He's in the 2nd place spot for the most favorite of all the Koopalings, Iggy Koopa. Yes! Why do I sound so excited to talk about Iggy? Because I've wanted to get my feelings about Iggy off of my chest for such a long time. I think Iggy would be the most able to be redeemed by Mario and be on the good side. I said it, I mean it, and I literally have so many ideas floating in my brain about how he would get out of Bowser's castle and realize just how bad that the bad things they're doing is. Okay, I know it sounds a little bit nuts, but stick with me here. But we're gonna have to talk about something else before I can tell you why I think Iggy would be redeemed. That will be in Lemmy's section. For now, let's just focus on Iggy. I don't think Iggy's a scientist. There, I said it. I don't think he's a scientist. You know what I do think he is? I think he's a mechanic. Now you might be saying, but he's always been interpreted as a scientist. Tell me where. Please tell me where in the Nintendo games, movies, anything where he has been said to be a scientist, to be a mechanic, to be anything to do with that. An inventor, a scientist, or a mechanic. Tell me. Tell me where. Oh, you can't? Yeah, because there is nothing. There is nothing. There is nothing. But you know what there is? There is a instruction manual for Super Mario World that says Iggy is smart. That doesn't automatically make him a scientist, but you know what that does make him? Smart. Okay? That's what makes that is what that makes him. So we know he's smart. So I think the actual inventor, the actual scientist, and the actual mechanic of the family, according to the Super Mario show, and also many other things we've seen from the games, from the shows, from the everything Nintendo has to offer with Ludwig in it, he is shown to invent things, be a scientist. Oh, hello. Sorry, that was just my sister visiting. Anyways, as I was saying, Ludwig is the inventor, the scientist, and the mechanic. And there is literally proof of this everywhere. He literally made the Lud ship in Paper Mario Color Splash. Even though it's not fully finished, he did make that submarine too. He has to know a little bit of knowledge about mechanics and inventing to do that. So what I think is that Ludwig taught Iggy how to be a mechanic, so that number one, Ludwig didn't have to do all of the mechanic work, and number two, because Iggy asked him to. Because Iggy wanted to learn. And so they bonded over mechanics. His friendship with Ludwig is actually one of the reasons he doesn't want to leave them all alone, you know, and be good. Because if Mario doesn't accept him, he'll just have to kind of live on his own, because he can't just go back to them after doing that. And he can't really do that because he doesn't know how to take care of himself. In my headcanon, all of them are still children. The oldest one is Ludwig, and Ludwig is 17 in my headcanon. Iggy in my headcanon is 16. And he's just... he can't take care of himself. He can't. So he's faced with the decision to be bad or go, and risk being all alone, with no way to help himself and keep himself, well, alive, really. And yeah, that's my Iggy headcanons. My Lemmy headcanons, here we go! You are in for a ride, because the oldest are, for some reason, the most demented. So, Lemmy Koopa is the small one, but he is 16. And you might be saying, how though? Growth hormone deficiency, GHD, also known as pituitary dwarfism, is a medical condition characterized by insufficient production of growth hormone by the pituitary gland, leading to impaired growth and development in children. In adults, it can result in various metabolic and physiological abnormalities. Lemmy's case is where he just looks, sounds, and sometimes even acts like a child when he can get away with it. He sounds like a child against his will. He looks like a child against his will. But if he wants to, he can act like a child. And he uses that for his circus act so that people will fawn over him and love him. And then at home, he wants to be treated like a normal person. Obviously, wouldn't you want to be treated like a normal person too? We all want to be treated like a normal person. And then there's the problem with him. The problem is... the problem is, whenever he does something wrong in the eyes of Koopas. So, for instance, let's say he is rude to minions. That is a big no-no in my headcanon. I headcanon that Bowser cares deeply about his minions and will not accept any form of disrespect towards them, and made it very clear to the Koopalings and to Bowser Jr. that you should not be cruel to any of the minions. They deserve respect because of how much they do for us. That is what Bowser always told them. So, Lemmy daring to even be a little bit cross with the minions when they did nothing wrong at all is just a big no-no. And he does that a lot, actually. He does that a lot. But he expects to get away with it because he just plays it up like he doesn't know any better. And he gets away with it. And that annoys a certain person, which is Roy. Roy bullies Lemmy because, number one, it's pretty easy to pick on him. He's pretty insecure about how short he is, so he just calls him a half pint. He calls him small. He calls him a small fry. He calls him weak. And it's just very easy for Lemmy to cry and then just have his feelings hurt. Roy uses the excuse of he's too childish and depends on his looking childish and childlike to get away with things that are bad. So I'm going to go ahead and technically just bully him for doing that. And it's not even the right way to handle it, but Roy doesn't care about that. He just cares about getting an excuse to pick on someone else. Really. At least that's deep down. Roy slightly believes, he slightly believes that this will actually cause him to stop being so childlike. And this will help him to toughen up, quote unquote, Of course it's not gonna work, but he doesn't want to acknowledge that, so. And so the reason why Iggy is so, in my opinion, Iggy would probably be redeemed is because Iggy is Lemmy's twin. Yeah, in the old show, they were twins. They were called Hip and Hop. But now they're looking drastically different. But I still call them twins anyway. And it just so happens that one of them just looks very different than the other. I also had canon that Iggy dyed his hair to be different than Lemmy. So that people would just be like, yeah, he's different than Lemmy. But it only caused people to call him Pineapple Head. And Carrot Head, and Palm Tree. Roy is calling him all of those things. But that's not the point, okay? My point is they look different, but they're still twins. And they have a really close friendship, I'd say. They're close, they share a long, big room, and Lemmy is there to support Iggy when he needs it, and Iggy is there to support Lemmy when he needs it. And most of the time, Iggy is Lemmy's comfort when Roy bullies him, which happens usually, if not every day, every other day. So Lemmy will get upset, go to his room and cry. Iggy will be there to comfort him, and he'll just try his best, the best he can. They don't really tell Bowser about this because, number one, Lemmy doesn't want to, because he feels like Roy will just be more mean if they do. And Iggy has I'm just gonna say it, he kinda has no spine. Especially when it comes to if he is told not to do something by Lemmy, he has no spine whatsoever. So, Lemmy and Iggy do have a bit of a power dynamic in that way. And, Iggy also doesn't want to leave and be good, because he realizes if he leaves, Lemmy won't have a way to be able to be comforted, because he doesn't really trust anyone else. He only trusts Iggy. And if he leaves, Lemmy will probably see it as him trying to be selfish. So he's kind of forced to stay. And Iggy learned sympathy from realizing how bad Roy's bullying affected Lemmy, and he thought about how technically Bowser and the troops of Bowser bully Toads into submission while they just take them over. And he kind of started to realize slowly how, terrible they are. Because it just kept on happening, the bullying. And he just put two and two together. And he just feels terrible being villainous now. But he really doesn't have a choice, does he? He kind of has to, or it's just not gonna work. He can't just say, I don't want to do evil things anymore, Bowser. He would probably get punished in some way, shape, or form. You could even go as far as to say he could possibly be imprisoned or killed. But, of course, that's if Bowser really just is a tyrant. That's like, whoa. I also headcanon that Lemmy has a big collection of defused bombs. They're just like emptied out bombs. They're just display only bombs. All different kinds of bombs. He loves the bombs, especially round ones. He has them displayed all over his room, and he just really likes bombs. I also headcanon if he got any sense of power at all, like for instance, he rules over Acorn Plains as like a bureaucracy kind of thing, where Bowser does all the rules and stuff, but Lemmy upholds the rules Bowser has in Acorn Plains every single time you play Super Paper Mario? What? New Super Mario Bros. Wii U on the Wii U and the one on the Switch. He's the one in Acorn Plains, and he's usually the one you fight first. But I headcanon that since he has that one lick of power, he uses that inch and takes a mile. He gets power hungry, is what I'm saying. He starts to feel very superior and powerful, and he abuses the power. Anybody who doesn't agree to Bowser's doings, he's gonna show him all the bombs that he has that aren't defused and aren't emptied out. So yeah, my Lemmy is not defenseless and powerless and innocent. He definitely can be a menace if he wants to be. So those are my Lemmy headcanons. I guess now we'll go to the last and oldest of the Koopalings. Ludwig von Koopa! Yes! I always liked Ludwig von Koopa. I'm gonna be completely honest. I've always liked him. I've always liked just, him in general. As a kid, I thought he was really cool. I thought his hair looked really cool. When I first started knowing what his character was like, I was like, okay, I think he's a pretty cool character. And now I'm just like, yes, 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 whenever I see him anywhere at all. I literally start yippying in my mind. My mind just goes, it's him, yay! I don't think it's very hard to tell which one is my favorite. Which one's at the very top of my list. It's Ludwig. Ludwig is on the top of my list. He is obviously an inventor. We already know that. He's a scientist. We already know that. And he is a mechanic. We already know this. It's in the show, and it's still shown to this day in many different games that he still invents, still fixes things, and still is a scientist. Okay? He also plays the piano, we know that. Now, here are my own headcanons about Ludwig. I think him and Larry actively make up schemes together. I think that they are just like they are in the show when they were cheatsy and kooky. They just always think of little things to do together, and it's just perfect. But then I also headcanon that Ludwig von Koopa is an overachiever. He craves validation from anyone and everyone. He will not think he's smart if he isn't told every single day you're smart. And then when he asks, do you think I'm smart? Like in a just normal way, casual tone, and somebody says yes, he's like, obviously I am. There'd be something wrong with you if you didn't think I was smart. And if you say no, he's like, he just stays silent and then just talks about something else eventually, because he doesn't want to grapple with the fact that somebody doesn't think he's smart. Like, what? Is he not smart? Is what he's thinking. He's thinking, am I not smart? Wait, of course I'm smart, right? I had to be smart, right? I've done all these things, but what if I'm not smart? And he craves attention and validation from other people in that way because he just cannot keep himself feeling like he is smart and he is good at what he does. He has to get that from other people. Why? I made it. Yeah, I don't have much of a explanation for him. I just kind of made it up, but that's why it's a headcanon, isn't it? It's not like I expect anyone else to believe it. It's just my own way of portraying him. You don't need to agree with any of these, but you especially don't need to agree with this one. Because I have no proof whatsoever he is actually like this. And there is a difference between Larry's attention-seeking and Ludwig's. Larry has tried getting attention from other people and doesn't really like it. He only likes it when it's from Bowser, because it's Bowser who he likes the most. It's Bowser who he's obsessing with. Ludwig just wants validation from anyone who can tell him that he is actually smart. It doesn't matter who, it just matters that they say it, and so he can believe it. Because he doesn't trust himself, you know? He doesn't trust that he knows what is smart and what is not, you know? So what he does is that he overachieves. He plays the violin, he plays the piano, he plays a bunch of other instruments, and he invents, and he's a scientist, and he fixes things so that people will praise him and make him feel like he is smart. So he just depends on other people to feel validated. And if he were all alone in the world, he would just probably go insane, because he needs that validation from other people. He holds Bowser to a high regard, so if Bowser says that he's smart, it's a little bit different than anyone else, but, you know, it still slowly fades, and he still gets his feelings of not being good enough. So he does eventually ask again, am I smart? Am I good at what I do? It's just a never-ending cycle for the poor guy. What he needs, and really what all the family needs, is therapy, but he would probably refuse the therapy if people told him, hey, do you think you want to go ahead and go to therapy? He'd probably say, no, why would I need to go to therapy? I'm completely fine. Because denial. Because, of course, denial. I also headcanon that though he does crave validation from people, he usually stays in his room, which is in my version of Bowser's Castle, way up in the just ceiling. You know that little turtle shell on the top of the castle? I headcanon that that is his room, where he can look up at the sky through the ceiling if he wants to. And it's just his own lab all the way up there. And it's his room, and he stays there most of the time because he's usually just working on something to impress people. And that is really it, except for one more very important thing. Ludwig von Koopa is the older brother of all of his siblings. So he does feel like he should have the throne, but instead the heir to the throne is Bowser Jr., because Bowser Jr. is the only real son of Bowser. And that kind of does put some tension between him and Bowser Jr., but he still cares about his siblings. And just like Roy, he'd probably take a bullet for any of his siblings. And I think that is it. So, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.